The rain started early that morning, tracing lines across the glass walls of the office. I remember watching it from my desk, half listening to the murmurs of colleagues and the tapping of keyboards. My name is Ayan, 26, assistant to Mr. Rehan Malik, the kind of man whose presence filled a room long before he spoke. Calm, precise, and distant, he ruled the office with quiet authority. People said he had no time for emotions, only results. That week, a business trip to the Northern Valley had been scheduled. It was supposed to be a team visit, but a sudden flu wave cancelled everyone except me and him. When Rehan looked up from his planner and said, "You'll accompany me, Ayan," I nodded, trying to hide the flicker of nervousness beneath professionalism. The drive was long, 6 hours of winding roads and hesitant conversation. Rehan drove with focus, his eyes fixed on the road as if each curve was a problem waiting to be solved. I tried to fill the silence with small talk, asking about the project, the strategy, anything to sound useful. But slowly, the conversation shifted. He asked, "Do you ever feel like life keeps moving, and you're just watching from the window?" It wasn't the kind of question bosses ask their assistants. I turned toward him. "Maybe. I guess everyone watches at some point." He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that revealed more weariness than warmth. "You're too young to sound that tired." By the time we reached the valley, the rain had softened into a mist. The resort was smaller than the pictures, old wood, warm lights, and the faint scent of pine. At the front desk, the manager looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, sir. There's a booking error. Only one room is available tonight." I expected Rehan to be annoyed. Instead, he nodded. "That'll do." Inside, the room was modest, a single bed, a desk, and a wide window overlooking fog-draped hills. I offered to sleep on the floor, but he shook his head. "Don't be ridiculous. We'll manage." We ate dinner in silence. The sound of rain against the window filled the pauses we didn't know how to bridge. Rehan loosened his tie, leaned back, and sighed. "You know, I don't remember the last time I traveled without a meeting waiting at the other end." "You're still going to one," I said, smiling. He glanced at me with an expression I couldn't read, somewhere between amusement and exhaustion. "Maybe. But this one feels different." Later that night, as I lay on the far edge of the bed pretending to sleep, I heard him typing on his laptop, the soft rhythm matching the rain outside. Then the typing stopped. A pause. "A breath, Ayan," he said quietly. I turned, unsure if I was supposed to answer. "Yes, sir." "Stop calling me sir. It makes me feel older than I am." I smiled into the dim light. "Okay, Rehan." He chuckled, almost to himself. "You know, you work harder than most people I've met. But you never look happy doing it." His words startled me more than they should have. Maybe happiness doesn't always fit into deadlines. "Then maybe we're both in the wrong business," he murmured. The silence after that wasn't awkward, it was heavy, meaningful. Outside, thunder rolled through the valley, shaking the glass. Rehan stood, walked to the window, and watched the storm. His reflection in the glass looked older, lonelier. "I used to love the rain," he said softly. "Now it just reminds me how much time has passed." Something in his tone, fragile, unguarded, made me sit up. For the first time, I saw the man behind the authority, tired, human, quietly breaking. He turned toward me, half smiling. "You should sleep. Tomorrow will be long." I nodded, though sleep felt impossible. When he lay beside me, keeping careful distance, the air seemed charged with something unspoken. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the rhythm of his breathing and the distant hum of thunder. Somewhere between wakefulness and dreams, I realized the odd truth: this trip wasn't just a work assignment anymore. It felt like the beginning of something neither of us had planned, and though nothing had happened, everything already had. The rain continued through the night, whispering against the window like a secret we'd both just begun to hear. Morning light crept through the curtains, painting soft gold across the room. Ayan woke before Rehan, his eyes tracing the stillness of the man beside him. Rehan looked different in sleep, less composed, almost gentle. The strict lines of authority on his face had softened into something human, something fragile. When Rehan finally stirred, he greeted Ayan with a faint, tired smile. You didn't sleep much, did you? I'm fine, Ayan replied, though his mind had been restless all night. Something had changed between them, an invisible current neither dared to name. The day passed in quiet work. They met clients, signed papers, exchanged polite words. But beneath each moment was an unspoken awareness, a shared secret of the night before. Rayhan's gaze lingered longer than it should have. Ayan caught himself listening for his voice even in silence. By evening, the rain returned, gentle but insistent. They sat together in the small dining room, the air humming with restrained conversation. Ayan watched Rayhan sip his coffee slowly, lost in thought. You don't talk much outside work, Ayan said softly. Rayhan looked up. And you talk only when it's safe. Ayan blinked, unsure how to respond. Rayhan set his cup down. You remind me of myself when I started out. Careful. Measured. Always trying to fit in. But that kind of living, it exhausts you. I thought that's how success works, Ayan said. Rayhan smiled faintly. It's how loneliness works. The words lingered like mist between them. The walls of professionalism, carefully built over months, began to crack. Later, they returned to the room. The single lamp cast a soft, amber glow. Rayhan loosened his shirt collar, sighing as if shedding a lifetime of control. Do you ever feel, he asked, that you're pretending to be someone you're not, just to make others comfortable? Ayan hesitated. Every day. Rayhan nodded, eyes distant. I've lived like that for years. A husband. A boss. A man expected to be certain of everything. But lately, he paused, searching for words. I don't know what I am certain of anymore. Ayan felt his heart thud. You mean about work? No, Rayhan said quietly. About myself. The confession fell between them like a spark. Ayan could feel the storm rising outside, the wind against the glass, the low growl of thunder. Inside, another storm gathered, silent but powerful. Rayhan turned toward him. You make it worse, you know, he said, voice trembling slightly. What do you mean? You make it harder to keep pretending. Ayan's breath caught. He wanted to look away but couldn't. Rayhan's eyes, usually unreadable, were open, vulnerable. I shouldn't be saying this, Rayhan whispered, but these few days, they've reminded me what it feels like to be seen. Ayan swallowed hard. You're married. I know. His voice cracked on the words. And yet, I've never felt more alone than I do in that marriage. The honesty was disarming. Ayan felt a pull, part compassion, part fear. Rayhan, I don't want to be someone's escape. You're not, Rayhan said quickly. You're a mirror. You remind me of what I've buried, kindness, warmth, truth. Things I forgot belonged to me. The air grew heavy. The rain drummed louder, filling the silence their hearts couldn't bear to break. Ayan moved closer, not out of impulse but understanding. There was no touch, no crossing of lines, just two souls suspended in the space between longing and restraint. For a long time, they sat like that, eyes locked, words unnecessary. It wasn't desire that bound them, but recognition. The quiet realization that love sometimes arrives disguised as understanding. Rayhan finally looked away, running a hand through his hair. I'm sorry, he murmured. I shouldn't have said anything. Ayan's voice was soft but certain. Maybe you needed to. He stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the storm. Behind him, he could hear Rayhan's steady breathing, slower now, as if a weight had lifted. When Ayan turned back, Rayhan was watching him, no longer his boss, but a man searching for clarity in the chaos of his own heart. For the first time since they'd arrived, neither of them felt like pretending. Outside, lightning flashed across the valley, and for a brief moment, everything inside the room felt illuminated. Truth, fear, and something close to love. The rain softened again, as if giving them permission to rest, and in that quiet, unspoken understanding, both men realized they had already crossed a line, one not of touch, but of truth. By the time the clouds cleared, the trip was almost over. The valley, once drenched in rain, now shimmered beneath a pale sun. Ayan packed their files in silence, aware of Rayhan's quiet movements behind him. The air between them felt fragile, no longer charged with confusion, but heavy with understanding. Rayhan closed his suitcase and spoke without looking up. "The car leaves in 10 minutes. Ayan nodded. "I'm ready." The ride back was long and wordless. Mountains rolled past in shades of green and gray, but neither man saw them. The road wound through silence, broken only by the hum of the engine. Every so often, Ayan glanced at Rayhan, whose expression remained unreadable, composed, yet distant, as though he'd already started rebuilding the walls that had fallen during the trip. When they finally entered the city, its noise felt jarring. Horns, lights, people, all too loud after the hush of the hills. Ayan's phone buzzed with office messages, but he ignored them. He wasn't ready to return to the version of himself who existed before the trip. Rayhan stopped the car outside Ayan's apartment. "You did well on this trip," he said, his voice calm, almost formal. "Thank you," Ayan replied. He waited for more, but nothing came. Then, just as he reached for the door handle, Rayhan added quietly, "Some things are easier to leave unspoken." Ayan looked at him, searching for the warmth he'd felt in that rain-soaked room. But all he saw was a man trying to hold himself together. He nodded. "I understand." "Do you?" Rayhan's tone softened. "Because I'm not sure I do." Ayan hesitated, then said, "Maybe understanding isn't the point. Maybe it's enough that it happened." Rayhan exhaled, a slow, heavy breath. "You're wiser than you look." Ayan smiled faintly. "And you're lonelier than you admit." Their eyes met one last time, and in that silence lay everything: affection, regret, gratitude. Then Ayan stepped out, closing the door on the sound of the city and the quiet ache of something unfinished. The following week returned them to routine. Meetings resumed, reports stacked up, and the office once again became a place of deadlines and restraint. But under the surface, something lingered. When Ayan entered Rayhan's office now, he found the man more thoughtful, his words slower, his eyes softer. They spoke as professionals, but every conversation felt like an echo of the one they hadn't finished. One evening, after everyone had left, Ayan stayed late to finalize a report. Rayhan stood by the window, staring out at the fading skyline. "You're working too hard again," he said without turning around. "So are you," Ayan replied. Rayhan smiled faintly. "Habit." Ayan saved the document and shut his laptop. "That trip changed something, didn't it?" Rayhan turned, his gaze steady but kind. "It reminded me that I'm still capable of feeling. I'd forgotten what that was like." Ayan said nothing. The truth hung between them, simple, undeniable. "I won't pretend it was easy," Rayhan continued. "It wasn't right, perhaps. But it was real. It was human," Ayan said quietly. Rayhan nodded, his jaw tightening as if holding back something deeper. "Do you regret it?" Ayan shook his head. "No. I just wish I knew what to do with it." For a moment, neither spoke. The city lights flickered outside, reflected faintly on the glass. Then Rayhan walked to his desk, opened a drawer, and handed Ayan an envelope. Inside was a note, short, handwritten: "Thank you for reminding me who I am." Whatever this was, it mattered. Ayan folded it carefully, meeting Rayhan's eyes. "Goodbye, sir." Rayhan's lips twitched into a sad smile. "It's Rayhan." Ayan nodded, turned, and walked out. Weeks later, Ayan found himself back in the same cafe they'd stopped at during the trip. The same rain began to fall, tracing lines across the window. He thought about the look in Rayhan's eyes, that mixture of restraint and longing, and felt neither sadness nor joy, but something quieter. Acceptance. Love, he realized, wasn't always a story of possession. Sometimes it was simply a moment that revealed who you truly were, and then let you go. He took a slow sip of his coffee, watching the rain blur the city lights. Somewhere, he imagined, Rayhan was doing the same, each of them carrying a fragment of that brief, unspoken truth. The rain kept falling, soft and endless, as if it remembered what they both were still learning to forget, and in that steady rhythm, Ayan finally found peace.